G'day all, it's Colin from PC TLC and thanks for joining me. In this video we're going to be looking at the desktop of Budgie on RebornOS, which I installed on my last video. So let's check that out. So here we are on the login of the Budgie Desktop RebornOS, so we'll log into that. Looks quite nice anyway, I must say. Let's log into that. Alright, so the display doesn't quite look the way I expected it to. Let's just sort that out first. Display. So we can find that. No display. We'll have to go to Budgie settings, I suppose. Settings itself. And we go to displays. 1920 by 1080. Apply that, and there we go. Keep this. So now we are in the desktop of a Budgie. So I'm going to flick over to the screen only so we can focus on what's going on the desktop here. So here we have the Flatpak reminder or startup that allows you to add the Flatpak repository. So what we're going to do there is, not sure whether to do that first or do the updates first. Probably best we look at the updates because the shield's gone red. 332 megabytes. So let's apply the updates first before we do anything. Yes, apply. So while that's updating, we'll have a look through the menu and just have a look. I noticed when I typed in display before, we got this RebornOS Fire. So that's an interesting one to look at. And I'm pretty sure there was a couple of other tools in here as well. So we've got the add remove, which is the PAMAC. We got firmware for installing firmware on your device, and the Flatpak installer, which we will look at as well after the updates are finished. They've also got a software as well, which is interesting. So they've got PAMAC and they've got the software. Now that software is the GNOME software, which will accommodate the Flatpak. That's what that will do. And this column is this menu's moving all over the place because of the updates, I think. So where was I? Software. So yeah, that's what the software will do. That will definitely accommodate the Flatpak resource there. That's why that software is in there, GNOME software. We also got Spotify. We got tweaks, Wall Street Control. I have no idea what that is. Now there's a HDSP mixer. Matrix Mixer Control GUI, and there's another volume thing here. I'm not quite sure what that is either. It doesn't come up with a tooltip for that one, so I'm really not sure what that's doing. Yeah, there's no tooltip for that. And they got HDA jack support as well by the looks of it. Extensions, I don't know whether we need extensions on the Budgie desktop. That's interesting. So we need a restart, so we'll do a restart and then we'll come back. So system is up to date. Let's restart that. Okay, back to the login screen. Looks like the login screen has changed since the updates. Okay, so we are logged back into the system after the updates, and it looks like RebornOS has this Flatpak support front and center on first boot. What we're going to do is add the Flatpak repository. So we'll click on that and we'll update that and we'll add that. We'll put in our password. Welcome to software, so let's go shopping, and that'll probably do its thing. Run its script in the background probably. Is it doing that? I can't see it doing that. Should be though. I'm not sure if that's done anything, so I'm going to click that again, see if it does anything. Password again, but I'm pretty sure that must have. Normally it comes up with a little box adding the script and all that. Maybe I'll shut the software center and open it back up, see if it does anything, because I haven't seen it add that Flatpak support yet. It doesn't appear to be. Now, bearing in mind, since last week, I installed this last weekend when I uploaded that video. I have not started this up. This is the first time I've started it up since then. I haven't had time to look at it, but I'd prefer to look at it with you guys and we go through it and have a look, and I can be probably just as surprised as what you are. but I have had a look around anyway on the live disk, so I've got a fair idea what's going on. But what we're going to do is I'll do a search for, let's say, Telegram, because I know Telegram is one of those ones that will be a Flatpak. So let's just see the source. So FlatHub. So FlatHub is already, so that was added fairly quickly. So when you add it, when you're adding the Flatpak support on the live disk, it probably takes a lot longer. That's why you see that script run. But after install and after update, that script must have run pretty quickly, I'll have to think, because I didn't see nothing happen at all. So what else do we have there? Audacity is probably another Flatpak, FlatHub as well. Okay, so is it just me, or is this whole thing for Flatpaks only? Let's just do a search. I'd have to think that some of these, well, they'd have to be all Flatpaks, wouldn't they? I'd have to think. Flatpak, that's the only reason why that's there, isn't it? Because it's for Flatpak. Yep, so it looks like they're all FlatHub only, Flatpaks only here in this software. Which I don't mind, because at least you know that anything that's within the software there is a Flatpak application. So you jump into the software, whatever you're clicking on, whatever you're installing, you know what you're installing. So what we'll do is we'll go remove from startup. So we'll click on that and it'll ask for your password. Now, in theory, that should not start up again. So what we're going to do is a quick reboot. So we've logged in after removing the startup for Flatpak, and as you can see, there's nothing showing up on boot after adding that, after removing that from startup. And let's check this out. So the one I'm interested in is the RebornOS Fire. Now, I haven't really checked this out at all myself, so this is my first time checking this out. I just noticed it. I have opened it before, but I haven't really tried much with it. So you've got display managers. You can set Light Display Manager, Light DM as default. Simple Desktop Display Manager, SDDM, you can set as default. Select Greeter to test, select Greeter to use. Okay, so that's interesting. I haven't seen anything like that before, so there's an option there for display managers. This one here is desktop environments, so you can actually install other desktop environments. There's no elementary on offer in here. I'm very curious as to why the elementary is not there. I find that a bit bizarre because it was on offer during the install. So moving on to the next part of the menu in the category list on the left hand side here is system tasks, and you've got system maintenance. So you can save 279 megabytes, advanced, clear cache, clean journal, remove unnecessary programs, rank mirrors. Now that is a good one to see, rank mirrors. That's pretty good, and it doesn't do anything until you apply, I suppose. Now that's good to see in Arch ranking mirrors. Repair, save, recover programs, reinstall grub bootloader, rebuild grub bootloader, downgrade, remove package, leaving dependencies behind. Well, that's an interesting one too, isn't it? So you want to remove a package, but there's other packages that within the system that's using those packages. So all you're doing, so you're basically, if you uninstall, for example, Audacity, you're just removing Audacity, but not the dependencies that Audacity relies on. I believe that's what's going on there. which is very interesting because you just might not want that package there, but you want the dependencies to stay. I wonder if you just flick that on and apply, and then you remove a package and it automatically just leaves the dependencies behind. Maybe that's what that does, but that's got to be checked on to do that. That's quite clever, I must say. And I haven't seen that offered on a GUI before in any Linux distro, I believe. Programs, add-ons, Control Mycroft. Never used it, so I'm not really sure about that. Install Anbox. That must be some sort of Android testing application, I'd have to think. I don't know what Mycroft is. Tools, Pacman Settings, Arch Kernel Manager, Stacer, and PAMAC Software. So what's the Pacman Settings? Let's have a look at that. So the repository, so you can it allows you to adjust the repository, so you can get things from testing. Is that a RebornOS testing? I'm not sure. Community testing, custom. Yeah, so I suppose you'd have to look up the RebornOS website to understand what you're messing around with there. Options, log file, so wherever wherever the log file's saved, GPG directory, hold package. Okay. So I don't normally mess around with this stuff, so other people probably understand a bit more what this is all about. Then you got the mirror list. A lot of options there in the Pacman settings. So the Pacman settings, probably not a lot that I would probably mess around with there. I'd probably just more than likely leave it as default. Arch Kernel Manager, let's check that out. So you've got Linux long-term support, the Linux Zen kernel, and the Linux hardened kernel. Nothing there for the Linux hardened kernel. So you can choose to set as default. I would have to assume that the one up the top is the default, which is not the long-term support, but the rolling one. So if you're having issues, you can, especially with your device, if you're having issues, you can choose to go back to the long-term support kernel. And then let's just say you're on a device and something stopped working after a kernel update. You could then choose the long-term support and set that as default, reboot, and your devices will probably be working again. So that is a very handy thing to have. And then you got under manage a whole heap of different Linux kernels. And there are, if you've got a problem with anything on your machine, you know, you might go to a forum, or you might go to the RebornOS wiki or community pages and check out what's going on. People might say, yeah, mine was working on such and such, but since I updated to this, but it worked best on this kernel, then you could choose to probably install that kernel, upgrade to that kernel that the device would work on. So a lot of options there. And those options are really, really good. I like to see those sort of options in Arch Linux. And I have to say, RebornOS is doing something really, really good here, because they're the sort of options where people struggle on an Arch system, because unless you know how to find your way around in the terminal commands and so forth, there's a lot of searching to go on to work those sorts of things out. Whereas RebornOS are offering this stuff on a GUI and manage it within a GUI. So to me, that's just awesome stuff, I reckon. That would help a lot of people running Arch, or that are keen to run an Arch system, that gives them a bit more control with a bit more understanding in a graphical user interface. So that to me is a really good offer. So let's continue. Let's have they got Stacer as well. I'm not sure if I clicked that properly or not. Maybe I didn't. Easily clean your PC. Nothing's going on at the moment. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not sure if that's running in the background or what's... No. Let's do an Alt-Tab. It's not running. So Stacer is not working currently. I'm not sure what's going on there. So we'll move on. That's a bit of a shame, because Stacer is quite a good little application that tells you all about your system. You can clean up your system as well. But we did have that in, where do we have that? System tasks, system maintenance. So you got a certain amount of system maintenance here, and you do have that in the Stacer application as well, I believe, some of that, possibly. That's not working, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So we'll move on to Pamax software, and that's working, no problem. So I'm interested to see how we browse by. So we can have a look at what's installed on the system, and that'll show you everything that's installed, obviously. We can look at updates, checking for updates. Shouldn't be any there. Your system is up to date. Cool. So let's have a look at this one. Categories, groups, repositories. Yeah, not really sure how that works. Categories. But these aren't really categories though, are they? They're actual applications. So that's a bit confused by that. View featured. Oh, so here's the categories here. Photo and video. Okay, here we go. So you got your photo and video stuff in here. Music and audio. Productivity. What's the featured? Is that what? Oh, so that's the featured. Okay, so them ones there, you'd have to think. I'd have to think the featured are the ones where they know these applications are used quite regular within Linux. I'd have to think. Like I've been using Blender. I've just gone back to Kdenlive. Now I'm using PopOS, and PopOS is just like, I went away from Arch because Blender kept getting updated, but it's the same thing in PopOS. Blender keeps getting updated, so I can't get away from that at the moment, and it started playing up again and making editing videos a bit difficult. So I've gone back to Kdenlive at the moment. I've tried it once. That was my RebornOS install and beginnings, or beginnings and install, whatever it was called. So yes, you've got all these categories here. What did we get up to? Communication, productivity, communication, and news. Yep, so you got all sorts of stuff in there. Education and science. Games. Not that I play games much. Utilities. And development. So plenty of options there. And we also got down the bottom here, roll back my system. So this is an interesting one. I'm not quite sure how this works, roll back your system to a prior state. So is this thing taking snapshots automatically? I don't know. Because I can't really roll back at all at the moment because I've only just upgraded, so it won't have anything dating back anywhere at the moment. So how does that work if I click on that? What's it do? Upgrade to current packages again. So I don't think that's doing anything because I cannot roll back to the future. Oh, okay. Oh, so you've got to select a date. Oh, I see. So you have to select a date for that to work. So here we are on the next day. It's the 13th, and I made this video yesterday. So I wanted to check out whether we can actually go back. What was it called? Let me check what that was called again. Let's go to the RebornOS Fire. So we'll just open that up. RebornOS Fire, roll back my system. So what I want to do is maybe uninstall one of those applications that I installed. Remove one of those. We have got some updates too, haven't we? So we've got 11 updates. So let's apply the updates first. And we can also see whether those 11 updates come back after we've rolled back the system, which would be interesting as well. Okay, so a restart is required for changes to take effect. Let's do that first. Let's do a reboot. Restart. It's the one thing I find with Budgie, I go to the far left side to the menu to reboot, and I forget that the reboot is in the panel. All the shutdown options are actually in the panel. I always do that in Budgie. It's one of those muscle memories that I just can't get rid of. Right, so we're back in the system. Let's have a quick look at software or PAMAC. That's add remove, isn't it? PAMAC, I believe. Add remove, yep. And under install, we're going to remove GIMP and Telegram and apply. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that's all about. Maybe some sort of dependency, I don't know. Okay, so that's uninstalled and removed. So what we want to do is go back to this application here and go to roll back my system. Now let's roll it back to yesterday, roll back my system, see what options we get, if any at all. All right, doesn't appear to be doing anything. I've clicked on it twice and it hasn't done anything. Let's try the 11th. I doubt whether there's anything to roll back to on the 11th. No, not quite doing anything, is it? Let's do a reboot, another reboot, just to be sure. Okay, let's try the roll back my system again and see if that works. Roll back my system. We'll keep it on today's date and see what happens there. Nope. 12th. So it looks to me like it's actually not working. I wonder if this is a work in progress. This must be a work in progress, I think, because it's not currently working. Unless it's a Virtualbox issue, I'm not sure. So it looks like roll back my system is currently not working. I'm not sure if that's a Virtualbox issue or it possibly could be still a work in progress. That's a possibility. I didn't check the website on that. I've just installed it and had a look around, so it's possible that there is an issue. All right, so I've had a look on the RebornOS forums and searched for rollback my system. Doesn't appear to be anything about rollback my system. It's possible I haven't run it long enough for that to roll back. Maybe I would have thought one day would be enough, but maybe I only did this last night. This is the next morning, so that could be the problem as well. So it may be something I'm doing wrong. Could be a work in progress. Could be a Virtualbox issue. Not sure about that, but definitely at the moment it's not working for me. Let's go to programs, no, yeah, tools, PAMAC software. Let's install GIMP. Let's do that and apply that. Oh, failed. What's going on there? Oh, I must have accidentally pressed the caps lock. No? Okay, so that's really bizarre because it's not accepting my password for some reason. I don't know why that is. Now, why isn't that accepting my password? What's going on there? Let's try PAMAC from here. Let's try PAMAC. Add remove software. Let's try it from there. I doubt whether that would make any difference at all, but you just never know. Okay, it's not accepting my password. Do I need a root password? Because I don't remember setting a root password. Okay, let's restart. So my password works to log in, but it doesn't work to install applications. That's bizarre. So do I need to add a root password? So let's open a terminal. Sudo pacman -S GIMP. Is it install? Or, oh no, it's just GIMP, isn't it? I don't know, I can't remember now. Okay, password. proceed with installation. So what's going on there? Why isn't that allowing me to put my password in the PAMAC? That's very interesting. Okay, so let's just check that out again. Let's go to the Fire, or whatever it's called, RebornOS Fire. So GIMP's installed. Add remove software is not responding. Let's just force quit and then try again. All right, something went a little bit funny there. Let's try that again. Let's try Stacer again, see if that's working. That's still not working. PAMAC software. Okay, now it's working. Let's install Telegram and apply that. Now it's working. That's bizarre. That's really bizarre. I don't know what happened there. I was clearly putting the correct password in. A restart is required for changes to take effect. Is that right? I only installed Telegram. So I have to say, this is a very interesting tool that they've got going here, RebornOS. There's a lot of customization that people can do. Even people that are probably not overly familiar with Arch could probably find their way around here. There's plenty of tools on option. And we've also got another one here, which I missed, which is Wormhole. Let's check that out. In short, Wormhole is an extremely secure, private and open source alternative to AirDrop or any file sharing service really. And unlike AirDrop, Wormhole allows you to share a file or directory with any PC in the world. Wow. Anyways, here is the GitHub page if you are interested. Okay, so select file, select folder, enter code to receive file folder, press enter. Well, that's quite interesting, isn't it? So you can share files with other PCs. Now that's something that's very difficult to do besides uploading to Google Drive, to OneDrive, all those other drives that are out there. Those multi-million amounts of drives that you can save to. So that, I mean, there's another option right there. That's quite handy, isn't it? And then we've got a settings button up here, which takes us to, please select your favorite terminal. Oh yeah, GNOME terminal. Okay, that's all the settings button does. Let's just check that again to see if the elementary one is there, but it's definitely not there, is it? Because that's in alphabetical order by the looks of it. No, it's not there. Okay. Now we'd have the usual Budgie Desktop settings, I would say, which we do. So if you're familiar with the Budgie Desktop settings, there's nothing really different here for the Budgie Desktop. So that's your typical Budgie Desktop settings. I won't go into the settings because we're pretty much just having a look at RebornOS and what they've got to offer. That's just your standard Budgie Desktop settings there. Calendar would have to be GNOME Calendar, I would think. Yep, that's definitely GNOME Calendar. About Calendar, 3.38.2, definitely GNOME Calendar. Now I've noticed a lot of people are using disks these days, which is GNOME Disks, which is a good disk manager, but you've got to be very careful with this one. If you have a mounted data drive, make sure that that's not highlighted by default. Always check which one you're working with, because you could easily just wipe a drive. That's the only problem I have with GNOME Disks. Other than that, it's a very good tool. I'd like to see GNOME Disks not have any drive set as default. So it forces you to choose which one you want to work with. That would be the only change I would make with GNOME Disks. Otherwise, it's a fantastic tool. Disk Usage Analyzer. So you've got that one there. That's a GNOME product as well, I believe. Yep, 3.38. So I've got a lot of GNOME stuff in here as well, which is because you got the Budgie Desktop. That does use a lot of the GNOME stack, so that probably makes sense. You got an Eco Mixer, NV20. I don't know what all these things are, so let's open some of these up and see what they are. Now, interesting, they've got extensions. About extensions, that's the GNOME extensions. Now that won't work on the Budgie Desktop GNOME extensions because pretty much extensions is used for the GNOME desktop only. Budgie uses the GNOME stack, but it does not have the traditional GNOME desktop. So the extensions is not going to work, which is a bit odd that that's in there. I don't know whether they chose to install that and maybe they weren't supposed to. I'm not quite sure. Firmware, let's check out firmware. Now this Eco Mixer and NV24 control, they did not open up. I'm not sure if there's something that run in the background. Not quite sure, but nothing opened up with that. Firmware is still opening. HDA jack, so you got all those options there for your Intel sound cards. I'm not quite sure how this works. I do know that jack is very hard to work with, but maybe that gives you some easier options. I don't know. Never worked with jack before. And what's this one here? That's not opening up either. There's a mixer. Okay, so anything audio related besides this jack one is not opening up. So I'd have to think that maybe because I'm on a Virtualbox, that would be the reason. That's the only thing I can think of. I haven't opened that one up yet, or did I? So that doesn't open either. So I'd have to think the reason for that is because I'm on Virtualbox. Pace, I'm not sure what pace is. Looks like the firmware is not going to open up either. Maybe that's a Virtualbox issue as well. Pace. Is that the pace? Is that what opened up? Let's try that again. Pace. And what's a tooltip say? Tooltip doesn't say nothing, so let's scroll down to it. Pace. Not sure. Passwords and keys. Manage your password and encryption keys. What's this application here? Have we gotten about? No. The collection seems to be empty. Okay. I'm not quite sure what that application is. LBRY, an internet relay chat client for GNOME. Previews control. Run previews. Show windows of all workspaces. Show windows full name and tooltip. Okay. Previews control. Okay. Don't remember seeing that before in any distro, to be honest. Preview controls. Pulse audio. Some Qt stuff there. We've had a good look at RebornOS Fire. Features and improvements in RebornOS made easy. And that's definitely true. And we've got software, which we've looked at. Sound recorder. I'm not sure which one that is. It's a GNOME sound recorder. Okay. We got Spotify. System monitor. So let's just check out what that's using. 1 gig of memory. Not too bad, I suppose, for a GNOME-based system. CPUs are reasonably quiet. I am recording, so let's not forget that. So really, that's not a bad usage, really, at the end of the day. So Telegram is there. Terminal, text editor, tweaks, videos, Wall Street control. What's this one? Run Wall Street, use random wallpaper. So, oh, that's wallpaper, is it? Sync to lock screen. Use default wallpapers. Run Wall Street, use random wallpaper. That's interesting. Haven't heard of that one either before, to be honest. Windows Shuffler Control, which is the Budgie, which comes along with the Budgie Desktop. I've got a video about that a little while ago when I made some videos for Budgie. Yeah, it shows you how all this works. It's quite handy, that one, to be honest. And you got your calendar here, which is the GNOME calendar. Calendar. Document. Preferences. That's a bit weird. Time and date settings. Calendar. Calendar brings up, what is this? Text editor. Now, why is the text editor coming up when you're clicking on the calendar? So that's very bizarre. I'm clicking on the calendar. It doesn't open the calendar, but opens the text editor. So there's a couple of little linkage issues there, I'd have to think. Now, if we open calendar in the menu, that does work. Not a problem. So we open the terminal, uname-a. I think we've seen that already in the RebornOS advanced settings, 5.11.5, uname-r. What does that show us? Oh, just the kernel itself. Okay. All right, so that was the Budgie Desktop on RebornOS. I really love what they got going with the RebornOS Fire. And if we have a look at the tooltip there, features and improvements in RebornOS made easy. So features and improvements. So I'd have to think that the Fire is features, improvements, Reborn made easy. So FIRE. So they've sort of made a shortened name for the features and improvements. So I have to remember that. Fire. It's a pretty hot application. That's why it's called Fire. It's pretty hot. So a couple of things I'm a little bit wary of with RebornOS is number one is the calendar. Clicking on the calendar and clicking calendar. In the Budgie Desktop, the normal behavior would be that opens the calendar. I'm not sure what's going on there. Must be a link issue there, I would think. And the other things are all these mixers. Jack opens up, but that was the only thing related to audio that actually opened. So I'm not sure whether that's a VirtualBox issue. I'd have to think at this point in time it is. But it could be an issue with linking that to something. I'm not sure. Now, top right hand corner, you've got the traditional Budgie Raven menu here, which now only holds the calendar and device selections there, and are currently playing audio and probably video apps, I would think, and devices there for sound and so forth. So that's the Budgie Raven menu, and also notifications. So you got your calendar there. So I don't know whether this calendar opening text is purposeful or not. But overall, RebornOS, not too bad at all. I have to think that if you're offering so many desktops, there's probably going to be a lot of code there that could slightly get a little bit confused or maybe missed in some places, possibly. I don't know if that's purpose or not on some of these with the audio links in the menu and also the calendar link up the top there, because that's definitely not normal Budgie behavior. But I really like some of the things Reborn's got going. So you can install the desktop after install, so you can obviously change your mind. I'm not sure if that installs a desktop on top of this one, so you get the selection on your boot menu to choose which desktop you want to start up. But I normally like to stick to one desktop, because I'm not sure with this whether other desktops would have other applications within it. I'd have to think it does. So that's why I only choose one desktop, because normally desktops come along with applications, and then you're doubling up applications when you install desktops. So that can get a little bit messy. So if I want to use a different desktop, I'll just install a different distro, or the same distro as in RebornOS, and try another desktop. So that's RebornOS. Quite impressive, really, I must say, and those tools to help some of the people who have been Linux for a little while who want to try an Arch-based system. They've definitely got the tools there to help them out. And I even like those sort of tools too, instead of trying to find out what commands you got to run and, you know, doing the internet search. You end up on the Arch wiki and gazillion tabs open. Then your browser crashes because you got too many tabs open. Yeah, I suppose a lot of people would say, you know, the Arch wiki, do it the Arch way, because, you know, you're learning all about Linux. That's good. Some people don't want to do that. They just want something that works, and they've got the tools available to help them out and to troubleshoot when things may go wrong, which is what some of those tools would do. But yeah, I see that being pretty helpful for the people who have been in Linux for, you know, reasonably short time but just want to take that next step. I think that's not bad. I think RebornOS really does give a good offering there for those type of people. I like it, that's for sure. It's not too bad. I'm not sure if I want to go back to an Arch-based system though, but if I did, maybe Reborn's not a bad option. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it interesting and informative. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.